They called it conversion therapy, but Marcus Thompson knew what it really was: torture. For 6 months, he'd endured the Idaho facility where his Mormon parents had sent him to be fixed. Tonight, with $47 in his pocket and bruises on his wrists, he'd finally escaped. The Greyhound bus to Portland had been his only option, the farthest his stolen money could take him from the nightmare he'd left behind. Now, sitting on a wooden bench in Laurelhurst Park as November rain soaked through his thin jacket, Marcus wondered if freedom was supposed to feel this cold, this empty. His phone buzzed with another threatening text from Richard, his ex-husband who'd orchestrated this whole nightmare. The private investigator was getting close, 20 blocks away. Daniel Ashford gripped his steering wheel and checked the dashboard clock. 10:47 p.m. He was late again, leaving 5 8-year-olds with elderly Mrs. Rodriguez. The accounting firm had needed those reports finished tonight, but Sarah's medical bills still haunted his credit score. Every late night was a choice between keeping his beau and being the father his quintuplets deserved. The rain hammered his windshield as Daniel turned onto 39th Avenue. That's when his headlights caught the figure on the bench, a young man trembling violently in the downpour. Something about the sight made Daniel's chest tighten. He'd seen that same defeated posture in his bathroom mirror too many nights to count. Marcus looked up with wild, terrified eyes when Daniel approached. The fight-or-flight response from months of conditioning kicked in immediately, but Daniel kept his distance, hands visible, voice gentle above the storm. "Hey, you okay out here? It's freezing. When's the last time you ate something warm?" The kindness in the question broke something inside Marcus. He tried to speak, but only managed a broken whisper about having nowhere to go. Daniel saw the bruises then, the telltale marks around Marcus's wrists that spoke of restraints, of systematic abuse disguised as healing. Without thinking, Daniel offered what he barely had himself: a roof, a meal, a night's safety in a world that had shown Marcus nothing but cruelty. As they drove through empty streets toward Daniel's modest Laurelhurst home, Marcus stared out at the life he'd never allowed himself to imagine. Normal houses with warm lights, families who didn't see love as something that needed to be beaten out of existence. Neither man knew that this rain-soaked encounter would transform not just their lives, but challenge an entire community's understanding of what family really means. Sometimes salvation comes not from institutions, but from one broken person recognizing another and choosing compassion over convenience. Before we continue Marcus and Daniel's journey, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Subscribe to Heart Stories for more tales of the families we choose when the world tries to tear us apart. Morning came with 5 8-year-olds thundering downstairs like a small earthquake. Marcus jolted awake, heart racing from nightmares about the Idaho facility. The kitchen was chaos when he appeared. Daniel burned scrambled eggs while refereeing arguments between Jake and Ryan about whose turn it was to use the blue bowl. 5 pairs of eyes turned to study Marcus with unforgiving assessment. Jake crossed his arms defensively. Emma retreated behind Chloe's protective stance. Ryan sketched in his notebook but stole curious glances. Sophie stared with brutal 8-year-old honesty. Trust wasn't given freely in this house. Their mother had died. Then nannies had promised to stay and disappeared. Marcus helped where he could, learning that Jake hated mayonnaise, that Ryan expressed emotions through art, that Emma grieved loudest through silence. Mrs. Rodriguez watched Marcus with knowing eyes. She'd raised 6 children and recognized someone running from something bigger than poverty. But she also saw how Marcus never raised his voice, how he moved through the house like someone accustomed to making himself invisible. Finding work became urgent when Daniel's mother-in-law, Patricia, called with questions about the stranger living with her grandchildren. Marcus took a position at Powell's Books, where Walter, a 70-year-old gay man, became the mentor Marcus desperately needed. But progress felt fragile when anonymous reports reached Child Protective Services questioning whether 5 children should live with an unknown man of questionable character. Marcus found himself triggered at unexpected moments. Anti-LGBT protesters outside Fred Meyer sent him into panic attacks. Transported back to white rooms designed to break his spirit, Daniel struggled with his own demons. Attending his first PFLAG meeting felt like betraying Sarah's memory. But he needed answers for feelings that didn't fit neat categories he'd always accepted. The support group talked about sexuality as a spectrum, about discovery at any age. The breakthrough came when Jake's computer crashed. Marcus spent hours helping him recover files. Their heads bent together as Marcus explained coding with patient expertise. For the first time, Jake looked at Marcus not as an intruder, but as someone who understood his language. Ryan's breakthrough was quieter but deeper. Marcus found him crying over digital art he couldn't complete on outdated software. Instead of empty comfort, Marcus showed him professional techniques, sharing tools that transformed frustration into possibility. Daniel watched these connections with growing amazement. Marcus didn't try to replace Sarah or demand love from children who'd learned that loving someone meant watching them disappear. Instead, he created space for healing, offering skills without expecting gratitude. Because sometimes healing happens not when we're fixed, but when we're accepted as beautifully, imperfectly human. 3 months after that rain-soaked night, Marcus had learned the rhythm of a house filled with children who'd forgotten how to trust easily. Sophie was first to break, finding comfort only when Marcus sat beside her bed, humming lullabies his own mother had sung before religious fear destroyed their relationship. Emma's walls crumbled during a school project about family structures. Marcus helped her create a presentation including single parents, grandparents raising grandchildren, and chosen families formed through love rather than biology. For the first time since her mother died, Emma smiled with genuine joy. Daniel watched these transformations with growing confusion about his own feelings. He'd assumed grief for Sarah meant his heart was closed permanently, but Marcus's gentle presence had awakened something unexpected. The way Marcus made coffee. Remembering exactly how Daniel liked it, the patience he showed when homework became battles. The realization hit during an ordinary Tuesday. Marcus was helping Ryan with frustrating math. Their heads bent together, and Daniel felt his chest tighten with something that definitely wasn't gratitude. The feeling terrified him because it felt like betrayal, like dishonoring Sarah's memory. That confusion led Daniel to a bisexual support group, where he discovered sexual identity could evolve. The group leader helped Daniel understand that authenticity wasn't betrayal, that loving Sarah completely didn't negate his capacity to love someone else differently. But Daniel's accounting firm had already raised eyebrows about his household arrangement. Office gossip followed him to meetings. The breaking point came when Marcus delivered forgotten lunch to Daniel's office. Their eyes met across the break room, and something electric passed between them. They kissed with desperate honesty of people fighting attraction out of fear. Unfortunately, Sharon from payroll witnessed the encounter, and word spread with professional scandal velocity. By week's end, Daniel faced meetings about his suitability for client-facing roles and community standing. But the children's reaction surprised everyone. When Daniel nervously explained his feelings for Marcus, Jake simply asked when they were making it official. Emma hugged Marcus fiercely, whispering she was glad he wouldn't leave. Ryan drew their family, including Marcus, without question. Their happiness felt fragile when Richard arrived with legal documents and accusations. He claimed Marcus had abandoned marriage, violated treatment, and endangered children. Child Protective Services reopened investigations after anonymous reports about inappropriate influences. Marcus was arrested on false charges Richard's team had constructed: kidnapping, contributing to delinquency, violation of court-ordered treatment. The courtroom was packed with unexpected allies. Walter testified about Marcus's character. Mrs. Rodriguez spoke about positive changes in the children. But the most powerful testimony came from Jake, who spoke about nightmares that stopped after Marcus arrived, about feeling safe for the first time since his mother died, about understanding that love came in different forms and all were valid. Some things are worth fighting for, even when odds seem impossible. The bail hearing was just the beginning. Richard's team systematically attacked Marcus's credibility, painting his escape from conversion therapy as mental instability, his need for shelter as predatory behavior. But Portland's LGBTQ community refused to let another one of their own be destroyed. Basic Rights Oregon provided legal support. PFLAG members filled courtroom seats. Daniel faced ultimatum at his accounting firm, when senior partners demanded he choose between career and relationship. Conservative clients had allegedly expressed concerns about the firm's family values. Daniel listened to their carefully worded discrimination before walking out, choosing authenticity over financial security. Marcus found himself thrust into unwanted spotlight when his conversion therapy testimony caught legislators' attention. Dr. Chen encouraged him to share his story publicly, explaining that survivors' voices carried power clinical research couldn't match. Speaking about trauma to strangers terrified Marcus, but he understood his pain could prevent others' torture. The children became unexpected advocates. Emma's school presentation about diverse families went viral when parents recorded her confident explanation of how love, not biology, defined family. Jake created a website documenting survivor stories, showing conversion therapy's human cost. Ryan's art captured the journey from trauma to healing. Mrs. Rodriguez became fierce defender when CPS returned with the invasive questions. Her testimony about witnessing children's improvement under Marcus's influence carried weight because she had no agenda beyond protecting kids she'd watched grow up. The Idaho Conversion Therapy Facility faced federal investigation after Marcus's testimony revealed systematic abuse. Other survivors found courage to speak out, creating evidence cascade that exposed psychological torture masquerading as religious healing. Richard's strategy backfired when investigators discovered his domestic violence history. The private investigator had documented his own client's abusive behavior while surveilling Marcus, creating evidence supporting Marcus's claims rather than Richard's abandonment narrative. Marcus testified before Oregon legislature about psychological damage from conversion therapy. His quiet voice carrying experience, weight that statistics couldn't capture. He spoke about systematic self-worth dismantling, deliberate shame cultivation, spiritual abuse disguised as healing. Daniel's public coming out as bisexual at the hearing surprised even Marcus, representing complete acceptance of truth he'd been denying. He spoke about discovering love wasn't unlimited by gender, that his capacity to love Sarah completely didn't negate his ability to love Marcus differently but equally. The legal battles cost them financially and emotionally, but revealed the strength of community they'd inadvertently built. What started as one man helping another had become a powerful example of chosen family, authentic love, and courage required to live truthfully. Because sometimes the most revolutionary act is refusing to let others define the boundaries of your capacity to love and be loved. The federal courthouse had never seen a hate crime case quite like this. Richard's conviction on domestic violence and civil rights charges sent ripples through communities where conversion therapy still operated under religious protection. Marcus's documentation had transformed personal trauma into criminal justice. Patricia, who had threatened custody proceedings, arrived with homemade cookies and careful apology. Her grief for Sarah had driven her need to control, but watching grandchildren thrive forced her to confront prejudices about family structure. Daniel's firm had pressured him to choose between career and relationship, but his public stand attracted attention from progressive businesses. A Portland financial planning firm specializing in LGBTQ clients offered partnership that doubled his salary while supporting advocacy work. The children had become advocates, proudly explaining their family structure. Emma's presentation inspired teachers to expand curriculum beyond traditional definitions. Jake's Survivor website helped dozens escape conversion therapy. Ryan's artwork depicted love in multiple forms. Marcus spoke at conferences about conversion therapy trauma, helping medical professionals understand psychological damage from attempts to change sexual orientation. The Idaho facility was permanently closed, its leaders facing federal charges. The wedding took place in Washington Park's Japanese garden, surrounded by community that had rallied to defend their right to exist as family. Walter served as Marcus's best man. Mrs. Rodriguez cried during ceremony. Patricia held Sophie's hand, whispering how proud Sarah would be. Oregon passed Marcus's law 6 months later, comprehensively banning conversion therapy for minors. Marcus spoke at bill signing, explaining that healing happened through acceptance rather than fundamental change attempts. Their family expanded when they welcomed Zoe, a transgender teenager whose parents had rejected her. The foster system had failed her repeatedly. But Marcus and Daniel understood particular challenges facing LGBTQ youth in crisis. Daniel's partnership allowed him to provide financial literacy workshops for young LGBTQ adults aging out of foster care. Marcus pursued social work degree, focusing on conversion therapy, survivor trauma recovery. Their annual Mount Hood camping trip had become tradition, where they reflected on distance traveled from that rain-soaked Laurelhurst Park night. Marcus would watch Daniel teaching children to fish, while Zoe sketched landscapes, remembering the boy who believed he was fundamentally broken. The conversion therapy had been designed to convince him his authentic self was wrong. But this family taught him love came in countless valid forms. Their home proved families could be created through intention rather than accident. What started as desperate man helping another had grown into a powerful example of how acceptance transforms individuals and communities willing to expand definitions of love, family, and belonging. Have you ever had to choose between hiding who you are and losing people you love? Share your story below, because someone struggling might need to hear that survival and happiness are both possible. Subscribe to Heart Stories, where every ending is really a beginning, and every family starts with someone brave enough to love without conditions.